Buckle up, football fans, because today we're diving into the 20 most savage tackles in the history of the beautiful game. These aren't just rough challenges. These are the ones that left players broken, careers shattered, and fans gasping in horror. And trust me, as we count down from 20 to 1, each one gets more intense, more shocking, and more unbelievable. You'll be on the edge of your seat wondering how these athletes even survived. Let's kick things off at number 20 with a fresh nightmare from the Club World Cup. Bayern Munich's rising star Jamal Musiala was battling for the ball against Paris Saint-Germain when PSG keeper Gianluigi Donnarumma charged out like a freight train, clipping Musiala's feet and twisting his ankle into a pretzel. The injury was so gruesome that players couldn't even glance at it without turning away, and the ref had to send them off the pitch just to compose themselves. Musiala was sidelined for 4 to 5 months, missing half the season in a tournament critics call a pointless injury trap. He didn't point fingers at Donnarumma, but after seeing the replay, you might. And if you think that's bad, just wait. These only escalate from here. Number 19 takes us back to the 2010 World Cup final, a brutal clash between the Netherlands and Spain that felt more like a battlefield than a pitch. Dutch hardman Nigel de Jong unleashed a flying kung fu kick straight into Xabi Alonso's chest, leaving the Spaniard writhing in agony. Alonso later described it as his body being ripped apart and stitched back wrong, with his whole frame shaking from the impact. Shockingly, the ref only pulled out a yellow card. No VAR back then to review the madness. The game raged on, but de Jong's assault set the tone for one of football's dirtiest finals. How does a player walk away from that? Stick around, because the brutality ramps up. At number 18, we're in the Premier League over 15 years ago, where Stoke City's Ryan Shawcross lunged into Arsenal's Aaron Ramsey with devastating force, snapping both his tibia and fibula. Teammates heard the crack from across the pitch. It was that sickening. Arsenal boss Arsene Wenger called it not football, and Ramsey was out for 9 months, lucky to ever lace up boots again. He refused Shawcross's apology, and when Shawcross later broke his own leg, some Arsenal fans whispered, "Karma." Back then, without VAR's watchful eye, these hits were almost routine. But imagine if this happened today. Would the game even continue? We're just getting started on the chaos. Number 17 flips the script. It's not player versus player, but a VAR blunder that nearly killed a star. In May 2025, Nottingham Forest's Anthony Elonga was miles offside, but the linesman held the flag, leaving it to VAR. Forest forward Taiwo Awoniyi sprinted for the cross and smashed into the goalpost like a crash dummy. He ruptured his intestine, could barely stand, and due to a sub-mix-up, played on with life-threatening damage. Doctors induced a coma for surgery, calling it a miracle he survived. Awoniyi returned in 2 months, but this begs the question, how many more players will VAR endanger before rules change? The next one might not be so fortunate. Now number 16 gets weird. Player versus dog? In 1970, Brentford were facing Colchester when a stray pup invaded the pitch, chasing the ball straight to keeper Chick Brody. As Brody grabbed it, the dog plowed into him, tearing his knee ligament so badly he had to retire from pro football and become a London cabbie. From World Cup finals to canine collisions, football is full of surprises. But if a dog can end a career, what about a simple ball? That's coming up. At number 15, Manchester United's Alan Smith learned the hard way during an FA Cup clash with Liverpool. Charging down John Arne Riis's rocket free kick, the ball hammered into Smith's leg, shattering his ankle and breaking the bone clean. Sir Alex Ferguson called it one of the worst he'd witnessed, and Smith was out 7 months, nearly quitting the sport. He still feels the pain today. These injuries didn't just sideline players, they stole their futures. And speaking of stolen futures, the next one's a martial arts move gone wrong on the pitch. Number 14. Slava Prague's keeper Andrej Kolar versus Rangers' Kemar Roofe in a 2021 Europa League tie. Roofe went in studs up, high as a taekwondo kick, splitting Kolar's face open for 10 stitches and a fractured skull. Roofe got a red and a 4-match ban, but appealed it like it was no big deal. Kolar celebrated post-game before the hospital revealed the truth. It was a skull fracture, amid racial abuse allegations and a post-match brawl. Football's drama never ends, does it? We're halfway, but the top 10? They're career killers. Number 13 spotlights Henrik Larsson, whose leg snap in a UEFA Cup match with Lyon silenced the stadium. The Swedish legend fractured just above the ankle, and pundits feared retirement. Out for the season, Larsson defied odds. He returned to win the European Golden Shoe, then joined Barcelona for Champions League glory. A comeback story for the ages, but not everyone bounces back like that. Up next, a near death on the pitch that could have ended a legend's life. At number 12, Chelsea's John Terry put it all at the line in a cup final with Arsenal. Accidentally booted in the head by Abu Dhabi, Terry swallowed his tongue and went unconscious. Arsenal's physio saved his life on the spot. Rushed for a brain scan, Terry ditched the hospital in his kit, hailing a cab back to celebrate, dizzy but defiant. Heroes like Terry remind us why we love the game, but the risks? Insane. And if you think that's reckless, wait for the self-inflicted disaster ahead. Number 11. Paul Gascoigne, England's wild talent, fresh from World Cup semis and fourth in the Ballon d'Or, geared up for Tottenham's 1991 FA Cup final. Hyped on Valium to calm nerves, Gazza flew into reckless tackles. First a chest-high on Gary Parker, no card, then a knee-high lunge on Gary Charles that ruptured his own cruciate. Out for a year, he re-injured it clubbing, derailing his Lazio move and peak career. From stardom to what-ifs, football's cruel twists keep coming. Number 10. A grudge match for the ages. Manchester United's Roy Keane never forgot when Manchester City's Erling Haaland mocked his 1997 ACL tear. Seasons later, Keane's revenge lunge, a knee-high horror, ended Haaland's career on the spot. Red card for Keane, who yelled at Haaland mid-agony. Haaland retired, but his son Erling now haunts Old Trafford. Vendettas like this pure football folklore, but the police got involved in the next one. At number 9, ex-Manchester City defender Ben Thatcher elbowed Portsmouth's Pedro Mendes in the jaw during a dull draw, knocking him out cold. Mendes needed oxygen, seized up, and hit the hospital. Police investigated as assault, but no charges stuck. City fined Thatcher 6 weeks' wages plus an FA ban. Mendes recovered quick, but this foul is labeled the Premier League's worst ever. Careers hang by a thread in this sport, literally, as you'll see next. At number 8, Coventry's David Bust versus Manchester United in 1996. Bust tapped in a rebound but got sandwiched by Dennis Irwin and Brian McClare, snapping his leg so horrifically that blood soaked the pitch and keeper Peter Schmeichel vomited. Infected wound led to 22 ops over 3 years, pins, grafts, amputation threats. Fans sent 4,000 cards, but Bust never played pro football again. Heartbreaking stuff, and it changed hygiene protocols forever. Number 7. Chelsea keeper Petr Cech's near-fatal clash with Reading Stephen Hunt. Hunt's knee caved Cech's skull, a bit of a knock per commentators, but it required life-saving surgery, skull fragments removed from his brain, and a metal plate. Told he'd never play, Cech returned in 3 months with his iconic helmet, revolutionizing head injury rules, a game-changer in every sense. But the next one, debut dream turned nightmare. At number 6, Luke Nilles, hailed by Ronaldo and Ruud van Nistelrooy as a top striker, debuted for Aston Villa with a goal. Then, clashing with Ipswich keeper Reichard, he suffered a double leg break. Ops, infections, amputation scares, he kept the leg but lost his career, still limping today. From world-class potential to zero. What a gut punch. And if legs bending backward freak you out, brace for this. At number 5, Belgium's Axel Witsel versus Anderlecht's Marcin Wasilewski. Witsel's dive snapped Wasilewski's leg 180 degrees, like a chopstick breaking. Out 9 months, Wasilewski got death threats for Witsel. He recovered to join Leicester's miracle title win, but played just 4 games, missing a medal. Tough luck piles on. Now imagine an injury derailing a title charge. Number 4, Arsenal's Eduardo da Silva firing them towards the 2008 Premier League crown, 5 points clear. Against Birmingham, Martin Taylor's lunge caused an open fracture, bone through skin, ankle obliterated. Specialist military hospital treated it like a landmine wound, plate and pins inserted. Out a year, Arsenal slumped, finishing 3rd behind United. 1 tackle, 1 lost title. But France voted the next guy worse than history's villains. At number 3, The 1982 World Cup semi, France's Patrick Battiston threw on goal, shoots, German keeper Harald Schumacher hip checks his face at full speed. Coma, oxygen, cracked ribs, lost teeth, damaged back. Michel Platini thought he was dead. Battiston lay 7 minutes. No card, Schumacher juggled the ball casually. France lost on pens, public voted Schumacher worse than Hitler.
Finally, number 1, Arsenal Santi Cazorla, whose 2016 Achilles kick against Ludogorets spiraled into hell. 8 surgeries failed. Infection ate 8 centimeters of tendon. Doctors warned of amputation. If you walk, be grateful. Skin graft from his tattooed arm, his daughter's name, plus 2 more ops totaled 10. Cazorla left Arsenal but miraculously returned at Villarreal, then Al Sadd and Oviedo, scoring to promote Real Oviedo to La Liga after 24 years. From near amputation to hero's return, football's ultimate resurrection. Wow, what a roller coaster of grit and gore. If these stories fired you up, check out the video on screen now. It's even wilder. Hit like, subscribe, and drop your worst tackle memory below. See you next time.